So, Elder Crosby, the non-stop source of humor and entertainment, is also able to guide me, or certainly go along with me, to find out some of the deeper workings of the culture in which we found ourselves. And that was wonderful. I remember he would sing when we would ride between the villages. He would sing, he couldn't stop himself, and he had a great voice, a high voice. I don't even know what they call it, above tenor. And I would ask him questions about competitions they went to. So that was very colorful. And he had that experience, I think, in show business bonded us, because I either already was or was going to become a theater major. Something about performing in front of an audience bonded us, and he had great facility with the language. He was able to memorize, just like I'm sure memorizing the lyrics to songs and memorizing the vocal patterns, the music, etc. It was second nature to him. So we were a pretty darn good companionship there when it came to the language. I remember us teasing the young couple that ran the bread shop on the corner, and their two cute little boys, probably 6 or 7 years old, who, they had known the missionaries long before us in that apartment. Please don't give us yet another Book of Mormon. But yes, if you want to tease the kids and try out your new Chinese phrases on them, everyone will have a good laugh at that. And I think we went to, in fact, I'm sure it was Crosby and I who went to a Guonian dinner there. They invited us. And again, that was very touching, because they refused to be investigators, but the elders were just a feature in their neighborhood. And not only did they more than tolerated us, and we were customers. We bought stuff every single day on the way to and from Yang Le Duo and Mianbao. But I remember teasing them, chatting with the whole family very fluently. They were impressed. They were impressed with our ability. When I'd only been on the island probably at that point 6 months, and Crosby had only been on probably 4. And that's a happy memory with Elder Crosby. With respect to the language and Mark Crosby, we have a perfect opportunity to segue into an aspect of missionary work when it comes to the language. And I don't know if you are familiar with the so-called SST format. I don't even know what those letters stand for anymore. But of course, it was taken from supersonic transport. It had something to do with teaching the discussions as fast as you possibly could. This was very much a Nielsenism. This was not a Crookism. So unless you had any time under President Nielsen, you might or might not know about this phenomenon, which Crosby, bless his heart, simply called cramming a cuh. Cramming a discussion down someone's throat, because the technique was indeed to speak as fast as you possibly could, to skip right over all of those segments where we were supposed to pause for questions. And any youngsters listening to these podcasts these days, of course, wouldn't even recognize what's he talking about, discussions. They don't even do that anymore, do they? In any case, the SSTs, SSP? I can't remember. I'm blocking it because there was a subculture of missionaries who hated this. This technique, this tendency to get really high statistics by simply sitting beside people. We didn't actually ask them outright if we could practice our Chinese. Did we? Did we actually cheat that way? I'm not sure, but Elder Crosby, who, bless his heart, with a testimony of solid gold, he knew he got this for what it was. And so he simply called it cramming a cuh. Let's go cram a couple of cuhs. Let's go cram some cuhs. Which wasn't any fun even in the big city, let alone in the countryside. So one of the techniques that I'm not sure he taught this to me, but we did it, certainly we did it, was train tracting. Did you ever do train tracting where you get on a train and you buy a round-trip ticket for some place that's an hour or two away, and you look for poor, unsuspecting passengers seated alone, and you plunk yourself down beside them, and there with a captive audience, you cram a couple of cuhs down them so that you can, at the end of the day, have at least some statistics for the report that you're going to have to fill out. I'm very unfair here, and I also must say, remember Steve Toronto, he loved this program. He loved it. I did it with him. I criticized him. What are you doing? You're talking so fast. Nobody could understand you, even though, yes, they could, because his Chinese was already that good, and I think that had something to do with it anyway. He was the AP when they promoted this supersonic teaching, I think is what they called it, as fast as you could. And it became a vaudeville act, really. So, nevertheless, what are you going to do? You're a missionary. What are you going to do? You're going to fill out reports. The mission president is going to see them. He will see the statistics. Elder Meacham, you haven't taught a discussion in 7 weeks. What the hell are you doing down there? So we would go out and cram some cuhs on the train. And we would, of course, split up. We'd stay in the same car, but we would sit down beside anyone. You know, an 80-year-old Taiwanese tai-tai with ducks wrapped up in bamboo baskets beside her, and pretend to teach her about the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, it was really good for our language and our memorization, certainly. But when you had Crosby and Meacham, this was old hat to us. We didn't need this. We were already pretty darn conversational, and we already knew how to memorize. We knew how to memorize lines. We knew how to memorize lyrics. We knew how to memorize music. And we knew how to regurgitate it. We were already good at this. We had nailed it in the LTM pretty much. But we did it. So Crosby and I are cramming a couple of cuhs on a train back and forth to Suau. It must have been winter because I distinctly remember both of us were in all three pieces of our three-piece suits. Or Crosby he might also have had a long coat on, a raincoat, a black raincoat. He's up at the head of the car with some poor trapped soul. And by this time, I think I'd probably given up and just was listening to the clickety-clack of the steel wheels on the rail, or even standing at the door, looking at the scenery go by, the rice paddies, which were truly beautiful in the moonlight. Another piece of calendar art there, postcard, beautiful. I wasn't teaching anybody. I was tired. I was the senior companion. I could do whatever I darn well pleased. And so Crosby's up there. He treated it like an athlete. Come on, we need to do some reps here. We need to get through this. Come on. He was very practical. And we were good friends by that point. And so the train started coming into a station. And as it slowed down, and probably a voice came over the loudspeaker to announce the station, maybe, the person seated against the window, and of course you always wanted to get the aisle seat, because then you really had them. You could run offense in both directions. You had them trapped there. The person I see up there in the front of the car, as I'm musing over whatever it is that my companion is doing, I see the guy stand up and start collecting his baggage from the overhead rack there. Obviously, he's way early, but any excuse to get moving, get me away from this rabid-a-doga who is spewing something about religion at me in remarkably good Chinese, just as fast as he possibly can. The man stands up. He had a hat. Again, it's winter, so he's getting dressed. The train is slowing down as it approaches the station. It's still a minute away. The man is double-checking his watch as now I see him begin to wrestle his way out toward the aisle. Crosby he's aware that I'm watching. And by the way, very few other people in the train. Very, very few. In fact, probably only one or two other passengers. Nobody's aware of what Crosby's doing but me. So now he starts playing it for me, because he knows I'm watching from, 25 feet away or 30 feet away. He stands up, and without actually touching the guy or actually blocking him, he starts kind of weaving back and forth, weaving and dodging, as if it were a sporting event, but not completely. The man is looking down at the floor. He's looking at the floor. He's now moving with great purpose. He wants the aisle. He's going to get to the aisle, and Elder Crosby isn't going to prevent that, but he's also not going to let it happen without some theatrics. And all the time he's finishing the discussion. He is still speaking at 100,000 miles an hour, and it is flawless Mandarin, people. It is sounds and tones perfect, impeccable. And I hear it spewing out of his mouth, and now it gets louder and louder as the man finally does edge past him and gets into the aisle. The train is slowing down. Now it's only going a few miles an hour as the station sign comes up, as the landing there comes up beside the train. The man is now pacing. He's in the aisle, and he's got his P-bow with him, and so he's moving toward the exit. Crosby, with flip chart in hand now, chases the man, who now starts to run. He's frightened, and who wouldn't be? A rabid-a-doga is after you. And the man is running. He runs down the aisle past me. And I'm now laughing as Crosby He's about 2 or 3 paces behind the guy at this point. Crosby's coat is flapping in the wind behind him. He's running so fast. He has his arms thrust out in front of him with the open flip chart, which he finally simply throws at the man as the man flees in between the cars, down the steps, onto the landing there, and runs for his life, maybe to call the police. Crosby, huffing and puffing, only a few feet away from me, proudly pulls his time tender out of his coat pocket, proudly uncaps his pen, and very clearly marks down a completed discussion.